What's going on, guys? We missed the upload for yesterday, but that's fine. We got a garage sale going on at the house. I had to help out with that. I thought, you know what, we can take one day off here. It's going on again today, and I said, you know what, garage sale, I can take one day off there to help these fine gentlemen. All right. So I had the idea to look through Scryfall at all the legendary creatures and then make deck techs for any of them that I've never seen before. And that's not never seen them like at a table, never played against them. This is literally never seen the card before. I was curious because I've seen so many cards. I look through cards most of my day that I'm like, I don't know if there's like any cards that I've just never seen before. There are three. There are three commanders. And let me really specify that. In all of commanders, there's like tens of thousands of them that I've never seen before. And one of them's like, how? One of them's like, how have I never seen this before? But yeah, I thought that was a fun idea. So we've got three commanders I have absolutely never, ever laid eyes on before. And then their whole decks as well. If you want to go check out the links in the description to check out their decks. The decks are cool, honestly. We'll get into the specifics of why they might be underran and stuff once we get to them. But yeah, let's get into it. Up first is Tessak Judith's Hellhound. Tessak is 3 and a red for a 3/3 elemental dog with Unleash. If you don't know what Unleash is, one, very well named for a dog card, Unleash. You may have this creature enter the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. It can't block as long as it has a 1/1 counter on it. Other dogs you control have Unleash. Creatures you control with counters on them have Haste. Whenever Tessak Judith's Hellhound attacks, add 1 red for each attacking creature. This is cool, right? Like, I know your first thought's like, yeah, you just run Burgy, though. You know what I mean? You just run another big mana commander. But it's not dogs. But do it be dogs? I don't think it is. I don't think it do be. Does it unleash dogs? How flavorful is that? Honestly, I'm obsessed with that. I think that's really cool. I like this thing a lot, actually. This thing gives your dogs, like, stacked up stats and then gives you a ton of mana to spam out more dogs. You're just, like, sending the pack after them. And then I sick my pack of ghouls on. Yeah, tight vibes with her. It seems really good. Yeah, she just seems great. So the whole thing is you're just flooding the board with dogs. You're bashing face with dogs that are unleashed now. They have haste. They have 1/1 counters. And then you're adding a ton of mana with Tessak to either play huge instants, because that mana is going to leave during your post-combat main, so you have to use it during combat, to either activate abilities on creatures or artifacts or enchantments you control, or to cast instants with all that mana. Which is really, really cool. Yeah, she's just cool. So if we want to get into the deck, I think the first thing to start with, obviously, is the dogs. There's just a lot of dogs, and the cheaper the dog, the better. So, like, 1-drops and 2-drops are really good. In terms of 1-drops, we've got, like, a Cone Hellhound and Goldhound. Those are the, like, 2 only 1-drop dogs, which is, you know, fine. I'm sure there's a couple more, but they just, like, were pretty much unplayable. There's a lot more 2-drop hounds with stuff like Ashmouth Hound, Ashmouth Hound, Chandra's Magmut, Firebelly Changeling counts as a hound. That's useful in here. Immolator Soul Eater, Metallic Mimic counts as a hound. Yeah, there's a lot of 2-drops in here that are great. Even 3-drops, like, we can pretty much go up all the way to 3. There's like 2 4-drop hounds just because they're really good. But we pretty much go up to 3 because you can play it the turn before Tessak comes out. And there's a lot of really good 3-drop stuff you can run, like Adaptive Automaton. Kamanu Battle Armor is a 3-drop hound. It's, like, super good, too. You can just equip it to other hounds, which is nice. Terrene Mauler is another changeling that gets 1/1 counters, counts as a hound, 3-drop. Sure, why not? Yeah, you just pretty much flood the board with all these hounds. We run a total of 17 of them. And then you play Tessak so that you can have a ton of unleashed hounds a ton of unleashed dogs in play. And then those dogs bash face. And then Tezzak's going to add us a ton of red mana that we can only use during combat, so we need ways to use that mana. So I think that's probably the best place to go next. Ways to use that mana. So there's a couple combat tricks that are really good in here. There's Lunar Frenzy, and then there's, what's the other one called? Balduvian Rage, yes. They're both instant speed, X and a red, and it gives a creature +X/+O. So whichever hound gets through, you can use all your mana from Tessak to pump that hound up. Huge bash face. It's actually really good. It seems like it keeps the foot on their neck for most of the game. You could also go the route of, like, fireballs. You could go with stuff like Comet Storm, Electro Dominance, Fall of the Titans, which are all, like, instant speed fireballs to dump all that mana into. After your dogs hit, they might be fairly low. You actually might be able to take some people out with fireballs. It actually seems like a really good line of play to do. There's also a way more niche option. There's also extra combats that you can do during combat that are instant speed, or you can just activate. There's Great Train Heist from Thunder Junction, which is fantastic. Instant speed, extra combat, exactly what we're looking for in this deck. There's also, what is the other one here? Savage Beating. That's what it is. Savage Beating is another instant speed, extra combat that we can play off of Tezak's mana and get more combats with the hounds. Those hounds, that next combat will add us more mana. We might be able to just fireball after that. You know what I mean? It seems like you can have really explosive plays with this, which I like. And then there's one way, like a super specific card. Embercleave is a flash and equipment that equips and gives the creature 1/1 double strike trample. So again, this is way more niche, but it kind of acts as a combat trick on an equipment. So you can use her mana to flash in Embercleave, equipped it to her or one of the hounds. Bash face. Again, a really cool line of play there again. We do run like a little combat buff package just because I think with the amount of dogs we're gonna have in play, it just makes sense. Goblin War Drums gives all your stuff menace. That just seems good. Shared Animosity gives a creature +1/+0 for each other creature attacking with the same type. In this deck, insane. Uncivil Unrest is 4 and a red for an enchantment. Non-token creatures have Riot, and then if a creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it deals damage, it does double that damage. Yes, in this deck, this card's might be one of the best cards in here. And then we've got War Cadence, which is X and a red. Creatures can't block this turn unless their controller pays X for each blocking creature. Again, you can dump all of the Tezak mana into this and just make it so nothing can block. Another very cool line of play in the deck. And outside of that, we have one more little group just because Tezak lets your dogs unleash. I thought that was so flavorful. I had to throw in a collars package. So we've got Avacyn's Collar, Basilisk Collar, Sparring Collar. Collar your dogs up and then unleash them and then fuck your opponents up. You know, I think that's the name of the game here. I think this one's really cool, actually. Never seen it. Dogs, dogs, dogs. Have a fun one. Let's go to the next one. Up next, this one's going to be a little bit faster just because the strategy's nothing new. We've all heard of like aristocrat strategies, but there is a couple things in here that makes it like a unique type of aristocrat strategy that I thought was really cool and I wanted to talk about. Also, Commander, never seen it. Next, we've got Kuan, Ogre Ascendant, which flips into Kuan's Essence. Which is a legendary enchantment, so your commander might be a little bit more difficult to get rid of once it flips, which I think is really, really cool, or turns, whatever you call these ones. But yeah, his whole thing is he's 3 black for a 2/4. At the end of your turn, if 3 or more creatures died this turn, if 3 or more creatures were put into the graveyard this turn, you flip him, and then when he's flipped, he's an enchantment that makes each player sack a creature on their upkeep. Pretty straightforward, but I think it's really good, actually. It comes out very quickly. It's very easy in a 4-player game to get 3 creatures to die. And then once it flips, it's an enchantment, which is way harder to get rid of than a creature. And it starts just guaranteeing aristocrat triggers on everyone's turn. I think it's actually really good. I like it. I think a good place to start here is we are trying to get 3 creatures to die pretty much the turn or the turn after Kuan comes into play so that we can get him to flip as early as possible. The easiest way to do that is edict effects, which are effects that make all players or all opponents sack a creature. So we run stuff like Innocent Blood. Innocent Blood's a 1 black, each player sacks a creature, which can easily turn on Kuan very quickly. Soul Shatter, Shieldred's Edict, stuff like that will just make everyone sack something, which will be 3 creatures very easily. But the best ones for sure are the sack boys. Stuff like Fleshbag Marauder, Demon's Disciple, Gravelighter, Merciless Executioner, Plague Crafter. They're all creatures that when they enter make everyone sack, so you can sack the creature that just entered. Everyone else sacks. That's 4 creatures that died. Kuan flips very quickly. These are probably the best ones in the deck to get him to flip. But then when he's flipped, what's the game plan? It's very normal. Bastion of Remembrance, Blood Artist, Falconwrath Noble, Zulaport Cutthroat, stuff like that to drain people whenever they sack or whenever creatures die. I know what you're saying. You're saying a lot of these trigger on when our stuff dies, and you are right, and that's why we have a package that I'm calling like Kuan's Offering. That guarantees us 1 token that we can sack to Kuan and get death triggers with. So we've got stuff like Bitter Blossom, Black Market Connections, Breeding Pit, Ophiomancer, stuff that's going to guarantee give us a 1/1, or stuff that's going to guarantee give us tokens that we can sack and get death triggers with. They're very, very good. There's also some stuff like Bloodghast and Reassembling Skeleton, which will be just like essentially acting as a token. They just keep coming back and we can keep cracking them to the Kuan sacrifice, keep getting death triggers on our side, trigger our Grave Pack, trigger our Butcher of Malakars so that everyone else sacks, and just keep those things going. And at this point, our commander's an enchantment, way harder to get rid of. We've also just got some sack outlets. If our commander's not in play, we still want this engine to be firing off. So we've got Altar Dementia, Ashnod's Altar, Spawning Pit, Viscera Seer, and Woestrider. Just like the classic sack outlets that you could have. But yeah, along with all the tokens that are going to be coming into play, all of the death triggers and draining, we've also got Exsanguinate and Grey Merchant of Asphodel, just to like potentially try to end the game. So yeah, this one's more straightforward than the other one, but I have never seen this guy before, and it seems like a very powerful aristocrat deck. So yeah, if you want to look at the list, check it out down below. And with that, we're moving on to the third and final deck of the video. The next one is Vannifar Evolved Enigma. I'm not even gonna like hype it up and do some big like announcement. I don't know how I didn't see this card. I've looked through the spoilers multiple times. It's not an art thing either. I looked at all 3 versions of her art. I've never, ever seen this card. I literally didn't see it when it came out. I have no idea how. Very confused. I went back through it and I was like, she looks familiar. And then I started reading and I was like, no, she's just Simic. And then I was like, oh, Vannifar's the name of the Prime Speaker as well. That's probably where I've seen that name before. Yeah, she's just sick. She's very, very cool. She's 2 a green and a blue. For a 3/4, at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. You can either cloak a card from your hand or put a 1/1 counter on each colorless creature you control. Now, to cloak a card is to put a card face down on your side. It's a 2/2 colorless creature, and I think it has Ward 1. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Ward 1. And then if it's a creature, you can pay its mana cost to flip it. But what I didn't know was that if it's any kind of permanent at all and you blink it, it'll come back into play as that permanent. So that's just what we're doing, you know, that's just what we're doing. The 1/1 counters on each colorless creature you control, we're going to utilize that a couple times just to get like card draw or some kind of effect. Mainly we're going to be doing the Cloak card because, wow, that's good. That's insane. So weirdly enough, I think the best place to start at on this one is the most exciting place, which is normally not how I work, but on this one, I think that's the case. So I call the category Big Blink Flips. I had no idea what else to call it. So these are the cards that we're trying to cloak out of our hand with Vannifar, and then we're trying to blink so that they come in for free. So we'll just go down the list and talk about them because I think it's just a really cool deck. I think the idea is cool, and I think it's something that I might be able to sell you guys on here. So Day of the Dragons. Let's look at this one. 4 and 3 blue for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile all creatures you control, then create that many 5/5 red dragon creature tokens with flying. When Day of the Dragon leaves the battlefield, sacrifice all dragons and return all the exiled cards back into play. So all of our huge cloaked permanents that we're trying to cheat into play get exiled and get replaced with 5/5 red dragons with flying. And then if someone deals with Day of the Dragon, we get to cheat the big permanents into play anyway? Oh, okay. Might be one of the best ones to cheat into play. It's doing quite literally everything we want to do. So, yeah. Kiora Best the Sea God. Let's say you turn 3 Vannifar, okay? Then you go to combat, and then you Kiora Best the Sea God. You go ahead and cloak that as a 2/2, okay? Comes back around. Yeah, I think I'm gonna blink here. I'm gonna blink my 2/2 and get a Kiora Best the Sea God on turn 4. How about a 1 with the multiverse on turn 4? 6 and 2 blue for an enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play land cards and cast cards from the top of your library. Once during your turn, you may play a spell for free. Oh, and with all these big spells, that one's good. That one's real good. Throw an Omniscience in here if you're just like sickening. Railway Brawler, okay? We cloak him in turn 3. Turn 4, we flip him. He's a 5/5 reach, trample. Creatures enter the battlefield with X/1/1 counters on them, where X is its power. So all those dragons are going to enter as 10/10s from Day of the Dragon. Oh, yeah. All of our creatures are going to double in power when they enter. Yes, all from turn 4 on. Sure. That seems extraordinarily good. We've also got Ruxa Patient Professor because all of our cloaked creatures count as creatures with no abilities, so they're actually going to be 3/3s, and they're also going to be unblockable, which is another line of play to just smoke the opponents. You could also have like 4 cloaked creatures or 4 cloaked things and have one of them be a Ruxa and then swing and then uncloak the Ruxa and then give all the other ones a 1/1 and unblock. It's just cool. There's like cool lines of play in this. Sandworm Convergence, 6 and 2 green. Creatures without flying can't attack you or planeswalkers you control. And then at the beginning of your end step, you create a 5/5 worm. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll get that on turn 4. I think it's probably fine turn 4. So, you probably are sold. I know I was at this point. I was like, this is very cool. I like this a lot. But then he asked the question, we need blink. Is there enough blink outside of white to be blinking all this stuff? I didn't think so, but I don't play blue blink a lot. There's a lot of blue blink. A ton of blue blink. We've got Blur, Conjurer's Closet, Displace, Displacer Kitten, Essence Flux, Ghostly Flicker, Golden Argosy, Illusionist Stratagem, Maneldor, Swift Savior, Planner Incision, Siren's Ruse, Teferi's Time Twister, Thoughts of Deep Dwelling. There's a ton of stuff that blinks in blue, like an absolute shit ton. And they're all going to be cheating these things into play for free. And you're in green-blue. So have fun keeping a full hand with just all the insane card draw you can run. Armorcraft Judge. Yeah. Inspiring Call. Yeah, I think I might do that. Prime Speaker Zagana. Just cheat one of those into play. Draw a quick 4-ski. And then start blinking her. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's really good. The deck seems insane. We've also got some face-down interaction in the deck, just because you're going to be playing a lot of cloaked creatures, you might as well. Deathmiss Raptor is just a 3/3 Death Touch that'll keep coming back as long as we're flipping cloaked creatures. Very good blocker, like extremely annoying. Hide in Plain Sight is like another extremely cool one. 3 and a green for a sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Cloak 2 of them. Oh, it gets Ward 2. Sorry, my ADD brain. I just read ahead. It gets Ward 2 when they're cloaked. That's really good. And then put the rest on the bottom in any order. Yeah. We'll go ahead and look at our top 5. We'll put 2 of those huge blink flip cards we were talking about, any of them, face down. And then we'll go ahead and blink them the next turn and get 2 giant things cheated into play for free. Ixidor? Yeah, go ahead and pay 2 and a blue to just turn face down things face up. Yeah, it says face down creature. It only cares that the face down aspect of it's a creature. If the other side's a permanent, you lucked out big time. Scroll of Fate, go ahead and start manifesting all the cards in your hand so you can blink them. Eudora, any of your stuff dies, it comes back flipped as a forest. Wait, comes back what as a forest? Face down as a forest? Huh. Can you blink that? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. This deck seems very good. Anyway, guys, I've got to get back to my garage sale. I hope you guys liked these decks, or it inspired you to make a deck of your own, or something like that. See you guys tomorrow. Much love, and go play some Magic.
Perfect. In response, run 100 up. You think I'm mulligan a pub, you ain't one of us. Where's it at? Ain't noticing it. I'm right here, boom big, I'm noticing it. My pedal to the metal like gilded. My pedal float shit like I killed it. Real shit, let this little nerd get a word in real quick.